Hello everyone, it's Master Kane back. I posted a video earlier, if you guys have seen that one, about I'm finally coming back to posting a few more videos, and I said I had another couple decks that are upgraded a bit, and one of them, which happens to be my favorite, and one of my currently most powerful decks in my selection, my Ancient Gear. Most of it's generally the same, and it works out pretty well for me. But the main things I've got, and I don't think I need to go in huge detail about what the cards do, because most people already know. But I run 2 Ancient Gear Reactor Dragons, and in case you don't know what its effect is, let me zoom in the video right here. But I contribute him with gadgets or Ancient Gear monsters, which you'll see how I do that later, to gain his maximum abilities. And I'll also run 2 Ancient Gear Gadgiltron Dragons, which is pretty basic, pretty normal beat stick for the deck. Relatively easy to summon, especially with Gear Town and all the other good stuff. Relatively easy. I've got 2 Ancient Gear Golems to summon this time. I took one out because I added the Reactor Dragons. But Golem, since he can't be special summoned, can be a little bit of a drag, but my deck now has ways to get around that, so he is much easier to get on the field now. And with his being able to be special summoned by other effects through Ancient Gear cards, makes him a lot easier to get out. And I also run the new Ancient Gear Hydra cards. And if you don't know exactly what he does, again, I can still use him in contributing gadgets and all that good stuff. He's got a pretty good attack points too. And if I do it right, if I tribute him using Ancient Gear monsters and gadgets, I can use another card in here called Ancient Gear Gadget, which I'll get to in a minute. I can get both of his effects to maximize his abilities. Then I still run 2 Ancient Gear Beast, which is pretty self-explanatory, his ability to negate flip effects. I also run an Ancient Gear Engineer to help get rid of the spells and traps in the opponent's field, just like I can do with Reactor Dragon. And I run Ancient Gear Wyvern. Might not seem like a hugely great card, but if I normal or special summon him, I can get an Ancient Gear card for my deck. So that pretty much helps me get just about any monster in my deck, and probably over half my spells. Then I run just a standard Ancient Gear Soldier. He's not great, but I do have ways to power him up, and I can still use him for tributing and all the other good stuff. Then I run an Ancient Gear Knight. Pretty decent beat stick, 1800. Pretty basic monster. Nothing too special about him. Then now I come to Ancient Gear Gadget, which, helping go along with Gadgiltron Dragon, Hydra, Reactor Dragon, he will count as a gadget and an Ancient Gear. So you can open up a lot of possibilities with him. And if you really wanted to, you can also obtain him through Ancient Gear Wyvern, and you can also use his other effect when he's summoned to prevent the activation of spells, traps, or monster effects. But if you do it with like normal Ancient Gear monsters, you can activate monster effect, then you can attack with an Ancient Gear and not worry about spells, traps, or the opponent's monster's effects until the end of battle. Now, one of my favorite dudes in this deck, Ancient Gear Hunting Hound. He is used when I normal summon him. I can do damage to my opponent, but not only that, I can get some of my most powerful monsters out of my deck onto the field, like my fusions, which I'll get to in a minute. Then I run 2 heavy mech support platform, which I can equip and add power to my monsters and also prevent them from being destroyed by battle or card effect once. And also on top of that, I decided to add a heavy mech support armor, which will prevent my opponent from targeting my equipped monster with card effects, preventing them from destroying him with like anything that just flat targets my monster, which can save some of my bigger beaters. And for my last monster in the deck, Minefield Driller. He can help me get Gear Town back from the graveyard once it has been sent there. Good for keeping Gear Town. And for the most important spell of the entire deck, Gear Town. Allows me tribute summon ancient gear monsters for 1 less tribute. And since 90% of the monsters in this deck are 2 tribute or most, it helps me get the strong monsters out for little to no effort. And if it's destroyed, I get the special summon from my hand, deck, or graveyard, as long as it's ancient gear. I just have the only one that this one can't do is Golem. Then now I run Ancient Gear Fortress, which in case you don't know what that does, let me zoom in here for a second. I run 2 of those. I have ways to combo this. I've also got Ancient Gear Castle, which is pretty self-explanatory. Now for when an Ancient Gear monster is in the graveyard, I can use Ancient Gear Workshop and get him back pretty easily. I've also got Ancient Gear Catapult. If I control no monsters on my field, I can destroy another face up. Yes, face up. So one face up card I control. So that means I can destroy Gear Town, Ancient Gear Castle, Ancient Gear Fortress. And no matter what I do, I can get 1 to 2 monsters on my field from empty. Then I can also power them up with Gravity Blaster. The advantage of Gravity Blaster is I can equip it to a monster and it powers it by 400 every turn. But even if this spell card is destroyed, the power boost that I gained is not lost, like most equipped spells. And then, pretty self-explanatory, don't need to go into detail for this. Terraforming. Search out my Gear Town. Then, limiter removal for when a desperate situation requires desperate measures. And also, if I combo this with heavy mech support platform or armor, I can double up my monster's attack points, attack, they can't activate spells or traps, and my monsters in the end will not be destroyed. Then I got Double Cyclone, which I can destroy one of my spells or traps to destroy another spell or trap card the opponent controls. I can combo that with Fortress, or I can combo that with Gear Town. Special summon. Got Regeki for when I really need to empty the opponent's field. Now, the simple defensive cards in this deck, I run 4 traps. Metamorph, Covering Fire, which I use for defensive maneuvers, and I run the standardized Mirror Force. Nothing special about Mirror Force. If you don't know what Mirror Force is, you obviously haven't watched or played Yu-Gi-Oh! Now for my fusions, Ancient Gear Howitzer, and Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. Unaffected by other card effects. During the main phase, I can deal 1,000 damage to my opponent. I can only use the effect of Ancient Gear Howitzer once per turn. And if destroying something in the graveyard, it doesn't matter how it's destroyed, I can special summon an Ancient Gear monster from my deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So I could even summon Golem with that. And, came to my attention, I could also use my Ancient Gear Workshop to return him from my graveyard back to my extra deck, and then potentially summon him again. Now I've got my most powerful monster in my deck, Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, the definite boss monster of this deck. Not too hard to summon if I do it right. But the opponent is unaffected by all spells or traps, so spells or traps, period, are useless to him, even though you can't activate them anyway. But this card can attack all monsters my opponent controls once each. If this card attacks a defense position monster, I inflict piercing. So not only can you not activate spells or traps, I can attack everyone you control, and I inflict piercing if they're in defense position, and he's a whopping 4,500. And if I combo that with, let's say, yeah. If I did it right, I could use Ancient Gear Gadget, preventing you from activating monster effects, and you're pretty much done for. Anyway, those are my new Ancient Gears. Give me a like on this page, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I know it's not the greatest deck in the world, but it works out for me. Anyway, have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this video.